Greetings from California. My name is Toy Viruvlaitis, and I am delighted to share with you some learning-centered approach practices on data and accountability today. I'm a principal at the Corona Norco Adult School in California, and this is my third year as a principal. But before I was a principal, I was a teacher for 8 years and 2 years as the assistant principal. Today, I will be sharing a little bit about why we do what we do in terms of data and accountability and sharing learner-centered approaches with you. The other thing that I would like to add in the order of contents is how we have data-driven discussions at our school. And based on that, there are some practices that I will be sharing with you, namely the cultural shift, constant communication, and learner-centered tools. First of all, the why. We are adult education professionals, and we know that adults learn differently from children. And what we all know that is andragogy as opposed to pedagogy. And andragogy says very clearly that learner needs to know what they do. As an adult learner, they want to know why they need to do what they do. So when we test students, they say, why do we have to test? We don't want to test. Nobody likes tests. So we get our students to understand why these tests are important, why taking a CASAS test is important. Why do we do a post-test and a pre-test and mid-test? Then we also know that when learners are self-directed, they are more productive. And so we get our students to be self-directed learners, and they come in. When we are adult learners, we come in with a lot of prior experience. Building upon that experience is what we want to do. And so giving them data on how they perform in a test and helping them to have the motivation to get more in the next test is the concept of using andragogy for data-driven discussions. We also know that readiness to learn is something we need to know. When students come to us, we want to know where they are so we can help them better. So directing that accordingly by using data, the CASAS test reports, for instance, really helps. Finally, of course, orientation to learning and problem solving is what we want to give them. But if we don't know what they come in with, we don't know what kind of orientation we need to provide them. So looking at all that from a teacher's perspective, student's perspective, and the administrative perspective is what this discussion is about. So the discussions that we have on a constant basis with our students and teachers is, first of all, looking at their attendance reports. We look at them on a regular basis. Students get a certificate that gives them their attendance scores. And of course, we are not trying to say that if you don't come, you don't learn, but we're also getting them to get that number, and numbers speak louder than words. So it just helps. Another thing that we have on a constant basis at our school is discussing the CASAS performance reports. So at our professional learning communities monthly, our teachers look at the class summary report or student performance report. And this here is an example of a CASAS class summary report where a teacher can look at their students' first test and whether they have all had the second test, and did they score higher or lower in the second test. For example, if you had look at the far right side gain, you can see the first student, instead of gaining, lost 4 points. So that means something's going wrong. And how can the teacher help the student better, right? In the second row, you have 11-point gain. So mostly in this class, students are getting gains, but there are a few who showing a negative report. That means the student and the teacher need to work better for the next test so that they can get their gain. And how can we help the student gain? The next slide will show us some of the practices that we have in place that helps our students understand the importance of taking tests and following through and looking at data. So the first practice that we have is a cultural shift in how the students think about test, the concept of paying it forward. I will share a little bit more about this in the next slide. We also have a constant communication among teachers and among students and between teachers and students to look at discussions using data. Numbers speak louder. So what our teachers do is on a monthly basis, they meet at the professional learning communities and relating what the numbers show or why they do what they do and relate it to our mission. The mission being that we are here to provide transitional readiness and educational opportunities, but also to create productive members in the community. So our students who are problem solvers, if we can create students to think critically how it involves or how it affects the community, as some discussions we talk about. The paying it forward concept. Here is a little bit where I'd like to share my own story. Is I came from India in 2007. I already had a master's degree, and so it was easy for me to get a job. However, when I learned that in the US, schools provide free classes, it really shocked me. How can we provide free classes for adults? And how and why is that important, or how does it work? I then realized that the feds provide funds, the states provide funds, and how do they provide the funds? Through taxes from the community. Now then I go and share that with my students and say, you know why they provide the free classes? So that your lives are enhanced, so that our lives are enhanced. And how do we do that? Because higher educated people earn more money. Trained people get more money. And if you have more money and you earn more money, you pay more taxes. And more taxes means more benefits for everybody in the community. So that concept kind of took a hold, and then it became like a paying it forward discussion in our school, right? That's something I share with our students all the time when we have new students and say, we can do this because we have to be able to help our students who are going to come in the future. I'll share a little bit on that in the last point here. But before that, we also talk to our students about the importance of testing, how testing allows accountability, how we show our report of our test results to the states and the feds and earn more payment points, how those payment points help our student get more support services in our school. On this note, I also have to share that we make it very clear to our students, test is anxiety prone, but don't worry, you're not testing for anything. You're testing so that we know what you need to learn and how we can help you learn faster, and you know and see your own progress. So it's no reflection on you as a learner, but it helps a lot to the school and helps the teachers to help you better. The concept going back to the earnings and the taxes, I always tell our students that if you perform well this year, people who come in the future 2 years later will have more support services because your gain brings payment points to the school. If you are here today in this class and getting all these benefits is because 2 years ago, those students did very well and they brought a lot of funds for our school that can help you be the students you are here today. So it's a whole thing about helping the community, helping yourself, and paying it forward and moving it rolling. So that's one concept. One of the tools we use to make this all happen is sharing with our students the students' performance reports. We share with our students their performance report the week after they take the test. And in it, they can read, and we help them to read it and understand it too. For example, on this page, you have a high school diploma student who took this test, and the student already scored 245 on the scale score and 26 on the raw score. We also see the content standard description, and we know that the student did pretty well in the first content standard, but the second one, the student needs some help. And then again, as we go down, the one that says 0%, in that one, the student needs a lot of help. So this is one of those reports that we share with our students. The students use this to keep their own record also. I will share that slide in the next or the one after that. So we also provide teachers the class summary report and student individual reports. The teachers go through them. So if you can see the white worksheet that is on the extreme left, that is just one page worksheet where students' reports are provided to the teachers, and the teachers look through the class summary report and can make an analysis of how many students took form number 81R and what were their areas of improvement that they may need to help them with, or form number so and so and areas of improvement. So for example, if we were to look at the performance report at the back of this slide here, so this particular student this particular test, 21 students took the test. And out of 21 students, 47% of them got this correctly. So that means if the teacher focuses on teaching this competency standard, maybe we'll be able to get 80 or 90% students to improve their score. For instance, from the student learning gains report, this is individual student's name, and then student teachers can then go back and look at it and say, okay, so-and-so student did not do so well in this test. So then the teachers can help that student do better. Also, earlier I said that we have learner-centered tools. So here is a worksheet that our students are provided, and the students, when they get their performance report, they can then go and make a note of where they did well and where they need to improve. So they can read through the competency descriptions and see all the yeses are the ones that did well, no's are the ones that did not do well. This is even something we practice with our beginning literacy students as well, because even if they cannot read everything else and understand everything else, they at least know yeses and no's. So they read the no's and say, okay, I have 3 no's. So those 3 no's, they just copy the description, write it down. And then areas I did well, they just have to select these 3. It just gives lower level students also a chance to do some writing practice. Maybe they're just copying it down, but at least they are taking responsibility of their learning. They are making a note of what they're doing well at and where they need to focus more. And this, I have noticed, have helped a lot of students take charge of their learning. When they see that they did not make the level gain, they would come back and say, teacher, I need to make my level gain. When can I take my test? So in the past, it used to be like, I don't want to take a test, to when can I take a test? So that's the learner-centered approach we have been able to inculcate in our students. So here is an example of a student taking notes of their learning progress. And I will load this up in the next page, and you can see a little bit more in detail. They write the form number down. They write their scale score. In this case, the student got a learning gain. And level completion, they check off level completion, and they don't have to test again. But if they need the level completion, they come back and tell us that they need to take the test. And that's what I was sharing about. So in summary, there are some practices that we have in place, and I will be happy to share. I have already shared the two worksheets, the teacher analysis report and the student progress report, with Janice and Linda here, and they will share it with you as well, or it must be in the resource folder. So with that, I say we are somehow able to empower students, engage them, and keep them as self-directed learners. Thank you for your time.